Welcome. It's September 6, 2022. My name is Joe Weston, and we're here for our online global practice for reviving the global heart. And we're coming to the end of the summer here in the Northern Hemisphere. And for those of you who are following in the Southern Hemisphere, the end of winter. Yes, beginning of spring as we move into the fall, coming closer to the equinox. A lot of change and transition. And, I heard you had a beautiful session last week with Tori and Todd. And anybody have any reflections for those of you who were there on that session? Any feedback or appreciations?
I think I gave my feedback during the session last week, but for your benefit, Joe, it just was the multi-dimensional behavior effects, benefits of trees, what they do for us, what we should be doing for them. And then Todd shared that really beautiful overhead view of these trees moving in concert with one another and not touching one another. And Tori gave an absolutely beautiful, she conducted the practice in a really beautiful way. So it was very nice.
Nice.
Thanks, Jean.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It was the trees doing the space exercise.
Okay. As they will, as they will. Great teachers. I don't know if anybody else was there, but that's nice to hear. So I was just thinking it might be interesting in this session to hear a little bit from you all and how things are going with your practice. And I always think these are good times to do an inventory. Again, the end of summer, beginning, new seasons, transitions, and to just get a sense of where you are in your practice. Some of you are come on a regular basis. And as just to remind you, we're doing this practice on a regular basis to rewire the nervous system and to create new habits. This idea of taking our noble ideas and putting them into action. And that the strategy here is this idea that for those of us who want to contribute more to what's unfolding on this planet, whether it's for human beings, whether it's for animals, whether it's for trees, whether it's for the planet itself, what can we do to increase our scope of influence? And many of you have heard me say that cultural transformation starts with personal transformation, and that as each one of us find within ourselves the resilience and the fortitude and the abundance of energy and resilience that we cultivate within ourselves, what I call power within. And that already makes us more primed to have more leverage and that the efforts we make have more impact, because we're all doing something on some level. We're all trying our best to at least take care of our own thoughts, words, and actions, and the relationships we have. And the idea is, how can we maximize every moment we have to have the greatest impact? And if we do share a desire to alleviate the suffering of others, to increase the happiness of others, to work towards a culture of lasting peace, how do we use each moment effectively? And this practice helps us to cultivate that resilience, that inner power, that presence, that capacity to connect with ourselves, our surroundings, and others, and the planet itself, as well as the working through all of the challenges and limitations we feel in our own heart that keep us from bringing more people into our heart. And that we can, and the idea of taking more people in our heart doesn't have to burn us out. It doesn't have to wear us out. It doesn't have to deplete us. It can actually enrich us when we do proper practices that can hold that. And that's really, in a sense, what I would say what we're doing on a weekly basis, and just adding, as we bring in guests, as Tori and Todd share, as I share, as you all share, we're just kind of with this idea of this golden thread of lasting peace, whatever fabric or whatever masterpiece we're making. Every time we just add more ingredients and more ideas and more hopeful seeds into what the possibilities are for lasting peace. So that gave you some time to think about my question. How is your practice going? And in a sense, that can help me to support you in taking your practice to the next level. What do you note? Are you noticing any shifts or differences within yourself, how you're engaging with others, your viewpoints, your habits? Anybody want to share? Alessandro?
Please unmute, Alessandro.
I'm not showing on the practice with you on a regular basis, but I'm practicing. And I think that, Joe, your question is very good, because I think that when you practice, there must be some kind of perception of what is changing, evolving, or whatever, regardless from the expectations. And I have to say that if I step back to the past 2 years, I have to say that the challenges have been pacing at the same pace of my evolution, meaning that I don't have any reserve of energy to play on the table. I don't have any special card that I can put on the table. I'm always on the edge, like I'm trying to respond. I might say that I'm more aware, but I'm not ahead of the times, not yet, at least. That's what I wanted to share with you.
How are you managing that?
I think that my comprehension of this phenomena is that if you have to accept a challenge, you're never up to the challenge. But what has changed is that I'm not passive, meaning that I'm accepting the challenge on a rational basis. And I am trying to craft a different way to see things. So the evolution would be, because it's the whole universe that it's evolving. It's not that the universe is waiting for you to become the champion of the world. So I think I'm a better person, but I think I'm not deluded by this, but I didn't expect this with such a strain. I would always be panting, to keep up with the things that are coming. Or maybe it's also that when we evolve, we also attract the challenges. Mm-hmm. And we attract a lot of people that are challenging us and situations that are challenging us. So I see a big difference, but there's a lot of work to be endlessly done. This is my understanding. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, that's why it's good to share. One of the things I say, I always quote Uncle Ben in Spider-Man 1 and 2, which is the originals, which is with great power comes great responsibility. But I would add to that, with great responsibility comes great power. And that the more we're willing to take on a deeper commitment to deeper purpose and meaning, that also has the potential to increase our power. And that power is, can be internal, but it's also leveraging and influence. Jean, do you mind saying that, what you chatted, do you mind sharing that out loud? Why don't you all unmute?
So no, I don't mind at all. I just typed into the chat what an honest sharing you just made, Alessandro. That takes a lot of courage to say what you just said. And I have to say that I feel the way you do. And it seems, drawing on my practice, which is, it's got a long ways to go. I feel like it helps me. I feel like I see things differently. I interact with people in a different way, in what I would like to think is a more engaging, honest way. But my hopes, it just seems like we're going along and getting along and things will be better. And then it just seems like it's such a challenge to watch what's going on in the world, around the globe, in our country, in my personal life. It's just a very difficult time, and I feel worn out. And Joe, I bet your next question is, what are you doing about that? I don't know what to do about that, except maybe hope. I mean, I'm a broken record. I just say my favorite 4-letter word right now is hope. I mean, I think we have to have that, but it's a strain. So thank you, Alessandro.
Can I offer something, Joe?
Sure.
And this is in tune with Alessandro. I just attended a positive psychology event, and they gave the option, or they explained about the difference between minding the gap and minding the gain. And even when it's so simple, it's simply, I don't know, very simple. If you journal or you just reflect on the gap where you are, and the gap that exists between where you are and where your goal is, you can mind the gap and think about how far I am from perfecting this practice and receiving all the benefits of it. And you can do that and ruminate about that. Or you can focus on minding the gain and how much you gain so far, where you were before, right? From where you were or existed before. And there are different ways to savor, and that savoring that provides a transformational attitude, about where you try it, and it's really uplifting.
Thank you. Mind the gain.
Yeah.
I think that's and I have to be mindful of that and how I present this. There's no obligation to have to go out and change the world or save the world. I think that's what that becomes a bit overwhelming. There's a way of looking at it, is that as I've said before, I will to will thy will, is that we're just training ourselves to be available. And what does that look like? And that it's a different way of approaching that. So I would say, what are the things that are bringing? We've talked about this for a while. What are the things that are bringing you joy? What are the things that are energizing you, and focus on that. And that's another way of, that's a positive way of looking at it, or a reinforcing way of looking at it, is what are you doing to turn yourself on, in a sense, to light your light. And that might be just enough, is to just be a light at this time. And like a lighthouse, it doesn't go out into the ocean looking for people who need safe passage. It's just hanging out there on the coast, just shining its light, and just waiting for others to come by and notice it. And that in itself can be a practice, is to just know that if you are feeling in relationship with the ever-flowing and ever-changing world, then if there are things that you're presented to do, they will show up, in a sense. I think what we're doing here is to just cultivating the skills to just show up and be present for the gain, or for what's flowing. And that's a term that I use I don't use it that often here, but that I talk about in the Fierce Civility book called symmetrical flow. And that, in a way, that's a different way of saying what we do here, that the starting point for all interactions and all things that we're doing is authentic connection, that we're fully present, and that's what we do in our practice. We get fully present. We connect with others with honor and respect from our core and from our heart. That's authentic connection. And that because we're not in a room together and we don't get to go further, and it's just a meditative practice, we don't get to experience what's the dance, what's the give and take, what's the back and forth. And I'm sure I've spoken about this, that the way to overcome the aggression passive, the aggressive, passive ways of being, or the aggressive defending way of being, is to cultivate receptive assertiveness and assertive receptivity. These are terms that I do. Instead of being passive, to step into a receptivity. There's a difference. Passive is kind of disconnected and not present. And that's not serving anyone nor yourself. You're not engaged in life, in the game of life or the dance of life, kind of passive. But to be able to switch passivity to receptivity, it's still an open state, but there's a more openness, there's a more presence. Like when you're just like two tennis players, you're fully open and waiting for the ball to come your way. That's what we're training ourselves with this practice to do, to be in that state of receptivity. It should be easeful, it should be flowing, it should be joyful, it should be playful. It doesn't need to be restricted in that way. So that's assertive receptivity. And then on the other side, instead of being aggressive, we cultivate more of a sense of assertiveness, which is different. There's not the push attack in it. There's just a sense of I'm present, and the moment that action is needed, I'm ready to go. Again, like in tennis, the moment that the ball comes, you're ready. You're assertive and ready to hit the ball appropriately to keep the game going. We call that receptive assertiveness. And I think the point I want to make in that is that when we can cultivate that, the assertive receptivity and receptive assertiveness, there can be a lightness in that. It doesn't cost any energy. In fact, it's what a tree does, if we're going to go back to trees. A tree doesn't expend any energy in what it's doing. It's just being. And in this practice, for what we're doing is the same. It's to just be. And that what we're cultivating is that sense of authentic connection to all that we're engaging with, and that we're in symmetrical flow, and symmetrical flow can be stillness at times. When there's no impetus or to activate any energy, then we come to stillness. And that as soon as energy is activated or someone comes our way, then we activate the appropriate amount of energy that is needed for that moment, so we can conserve our energy in that. And that's a way to be in, and kind of, I would connect that with a little bit with what Ophelia is saying, is that instead of thinking of what the things we have to do when we have to fill the gap, we just are mindful of where we are in this moment, and each step is a game. You can see each step as a game, where we're effortlessly moving without having to expend a lot of energy. And my hope is that you can get to this point in your practice where you can see that by cultivating these skills, you don't need as much effort to accomplish what you want to accomplish, or to just get through your day sometimes, to really accept what's unfolding in this present moment. Well, let's take that into a practice. It was nice to hear from some of you, and maybe next time we can hear more if you have more, or we can share afterwards. So coming into our power sit, spine straight without being rigid. Relaxing the jaw, the shoulders, the belly, so that you can allow presence, awareness, balance, and flow to move through you. Bringing your attention to your core and your lower belly, the width of 3 fingers below your navel, a third of the way into the body from the front of the body. Place of personal power, awareness. From this place, your center of awareness, becoming aware of your contact points, the parts of your body that are connecting with what you're sitting on in the ground. From these points, allowing yourself to be held. What does that feel like to connect with the ground beneath you, with Mother Earth, knowing that you are held? Seeing yourself on this point on the planet, all of us in different parts of the planet. Constant motion and symmetrical flow happening at all times throughout. Honoring your part in that. No need to do it all. No need to take care of it all. It's already happening regardless of whether you're aware of it or not. How can you find your way in with ease into that flow of what's unfolding on this planet? Coming more in connection with with yourself in this present moment. From your center, become aware of your physical body. Again, not needing to do anything, simply listening. And opening to this idea of, regardless of what's happening in your physical body, this idea of this is full acceptance of all of it. It's enough. From your center, becoming aware of your emotional body. No need to change anything or fix anything, no value judgments. It's giving your emotional body permission to be as it is, flowing through you. Full acceptance. From your center, become aware of your thoughts, your mental body. No need to activate thoughts or worry about changing thoughts or shifting anything, simply noticing what's unfolding, giving it full space, full acceptance. It's enough. Maintaining connection with your core, bringing awareness to your heart, where your heart power resides, in the middle of your chest, heart center. Compassion, gratitude, acceptance. From your center and from your heart, become aware of that part of you that connects with something larger than yourself. That may always have just the right amount of energy it's needed. Noticing in this moment what your connection is to something larger than yourself. How can you find your authentic connection with that which is larger than yourself, and find yourself in symmetrical flow with the forces of Mother Earth, in symmetrical flow with the forces of that which is larger than yourself. Allowing those forces to move through you, which doesn't need to require any effort, any energy. Allowing this experience now to flow out towards the parameters of your personal space, to your personal boundaries. Endowing your personal space with this sense of flow, acceptance, and to truly understanding you in this present moment. There's no possible thoughts for what the future brings, what was in the past. There's no assignments. There's no comparisons, no judgments. It's simply this present moment unfolding. Find the freedom in that, find the energy in that. And with this awareness, take a full breath. With this awareness of yourself in the present moment, from your center and from your heart, become aware of your surroundings, keeping your eyes closed, feeling your relationship with your surroundings. Let your surroundings come to you. You don't need to reach out. Let them impact you. Let the surroundings impact you. How are you in authentic connection and symmetrical flow with your surroundings? Accepting all that is in your personal surroundings. It's enough. With that awareness from your center and from your heart, take a full breath in. Now, maintaining a connection with yourself and your surroundings. Don't lose that connection from your center and from your heart as you open to a connection with those in this meditation circle in various parts of the planet. Don't travel out to those parts of the planet. Try to stay in your space and let others come to you. What does that feel like? You're representing your spot on this planet. Embody it fully by simply being there. And the awareness from your heart to you, to all of those in this practice, to their heart, is what binds us. The awareness from your personal power to theirs is what binds us. Imagining us in authentic connection and we in symmetrical flow. No effort, like seaweed in the sea, simply moves with the momentum of the water. In resonance with each other. Full acceptance. And with this awareness, take a deep breath. From your center and from your heart, with this awareness of self, surroundings, and those in this meditation circle, become aware of all human beings, beginning with those human beings you would label loved ones. And once again, stay in your space, stay in your personal space, your personal boundaries, in your environment, and just hang out and be, and allow loved ones to come to you, if they choose to. Who shows up? How can you connect now with authentic connection and symmetrical flow? If no one shows up, that's enough for today. Full acceptance. From your center and from your heart, become aware of those human beings you would label stranger. And who shows up? Is it one person? Is it 12? Is it 100? Is it 1,000? Who shows up? And let's say only those amount of people that show up are the amount of people that you're capable of engaging with in this moment. No less, no more. Considering that your loved ones and strangers have shown up for a reason. How do you establish authentic connection and symmetrical flow with them? Full acceptance. And from your center and from your heart, become aware of those human beings you would label adversary. Stay connected with yourself and just check in. Does anyone show up? No one shows up, then stay with your loved ones and strangers. 12 show up, invite them with appropriate boundaries. And what can you do in this moment to establish authentic connection, symmetrical flow, full acceptance, not necessarily for who they are, but full acceptance for their involvement in this global dance. Noticing how that affects your energy, allowing energy to flow, emotions to flow, holding on to this notion that you simply need to be in time and space in this moment, and who shows up are the ones that you can engage with or not. And for those who showed up, allow them to flow into your heart with gratitude. Bringing awareness, take a full breath in to take that all in. Bringing awareness back to those in this meditation circle. With gratitude, acceptance, the abundance of this. Allowing those in this meditation circle to flow into your heart as you bring your awareness back to your surroundings. An appreciation, gratitude for your surroundings, and the abundance there. Minding the game. Allowing that to flow into your heart as you bring your awareness back to yourself. Feeling the richness, the abundance, the full acceptance of who you are in this moment. Either doing this literally or figuratively, taking one of your hands, letting that hand float up to cross over to your other shoulder. One hand floats up, goes over to your other shoulder, and then very lightly pat yourself on the shoulder, pat yourself on the back. Just in a gesture of good job. You can say that that's you doing that. You can say that's Mother Earth doing that. You can say that's the loved ones, strangers, and adversaries doing that, those in this meditation circle, or me, would be me, advocating for you to acknowledge you're all doing a beautiful job. Allowing this flow to flow into all of your cells, nurturing your cells, full acceptance, full abundance, into your organs, healing your organs, nurturing them, seeping into your nervous system as a way to remember this. And lastly, letting it flow into your battery, into your core, charging you, filling your reserves. As a way to bring this practice to a close, take one final breath. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Shake your body, stretch your body. Look around the room. So we had a chance to share. We had a chance to share what's how we're doing in our practice. Some time to reflect. Some time to did our practice. Now we have a chance to share with each other. What did you notice in your practice, or anything else you wanted to share from our discussion? Hi, Lisa. Good to see you. Hi, Golden. You all speechless?
Not sure what to share. I have something I can share that surprised me. Is my audio, can you hear me okay? I'm trying a different microphone. Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
So I'm Lisa, I'm in New Jersey, for people who don't know me. During the one thing that in the meditation, the calling, it surprised me how many strangers showed up. There weren't faces, but there was a lot of presence, and it felt like a couple thousand. And when you said you have attention for that many people, I'm like, wow, that's pretty impressive. So I was a little surprised because I spent a lot of time alone. So it's kind of interesting difference. Yeah. And interesting noticing.
Thank you, Lisa. It's interesting you say you're surprised, and interesting you say because you're alone, because you are a public figure, right? You do serve constituents, you do work with people. So it doesn't surprise me that strangers show up, because that's basically what you do day in and day out. Does that resonate or?
Yes, and I took it more like, as a personal, there's like, I see it like concentric circles. So there's, building relationship has a different quality on a personal level than it does on as a public service level. I still take, I still work authentically, but there's like pieces of me that are like special for me, that I special and tender, that is not there for the public's view. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and in fact, because that's what we were talking about before we did the practice. So it's you're in resonance with us, even though you weren't here for that. Is how do we take care of ourselves, and there's and how do we have the energy and not overwhelm ourselves with how much work there is to do, but more to see maybe let the work present itself. So and to be able to be strategic in that way, to know when we need to take care of ourselves, when how can we stay in relationship with both. It doesn't have to be a either or, it can be a both and I think that's important in the practice, why we first work on self before we engage with others. And the idea, in fact, I hope that you take this deeper into your practice. The tendency is when we focus on others is to lose ourselves. And one of the most important parts of this is that first we engage with inanimate objects, with our surroundings, but the tendency is often to lose ourselves, our connection with ourselves, and just focus outside of ourselves and our surroundings and others. And the training here is that both can coexist. We can be engaging with someone and still be aware of ourselves. And that's crucial. That might be some of the things that I'd like you to add to the practice, is that in all times, to train yourself, it's not a split focus, it's just a larger awareness that I can be fully engaged with someone and still be aware of what's my physical body, my emotional body, my mental body, or my spiritual body in any given moment.
I noticed that you changed that, Joe, this time, and instead of asking us to focus in these individuals that are part of the call, you said let them come and be present on yourself or connected, and you did the same with everything. Let them come or let them arrive. I don't remember the wording, and it was different. It was, yeah. So I appreciated that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you're saying that, because that's really where how I'd like you to take the practice further. That's why I wanted to bring this up, because because I did say it differently, but it's just a different way of saying what I always say. Because what I always say is, who arises in your heart? I don't say go out and choose 4 or 5 people, or go knock on doors and say, hey, do you need my help? I basically just say, who arises in your heart? So arising in your heart is like who appears, which is the same thing as who shows up. But I get that this is different, because what I did add to this is like, hang out. And if no one shows up, then no one shows up. That's what today brings. So that's what I'd like you to bring. So, when this idea, I'll say very quickly, there's a movie that really moved me called Resurrection with, I forget her name, it's a true story about a woman who gets psychic abilities. Ellen Burstyn played the lead role. And I won't go into the details. She has an accident and she can't walk. And then she's in a car, and it's like the 60s or so. So they're in California. So they're driving to a gas station. And of course, it's like the one gas station in like 40 miles or something, or 60 kilometers or something. And while the man who's driving the car is dealing with the car, the man who works in the gas station comes to the passenger side and just starts talking with Ellen Burstyn's character, and starts sharing things with her in a very loving way, and in a very light and appropriate way touched her. And then, unawares to her, she didn't know what was going on. They drive away, and then within hours or days, she starts walking again. She couldn't walk. And so in a sense, it was this man, you could say, who healed her. And now, whether that's true or not, it's an interesting film, so you should see it. It's an interesting story. And she becomes a well-known international healer in real life. But the interesting thing about that is that this man, if he was a healer, he's just hanging out in this gas station, and maybe 3 people show up in a week. And that's good for him. That's enough for him. He's in relationship with service, right? I'm here to be of service, and whoever shows up at my station is going to need some level of healing or service, whether it's just gas or whether it's learning how to walk again. And I find that fascinating, this idea of the level of presence we're cultivating is training us to just be in the moment, and people show up, situations show up where you can be of service. And that is a more organic way of being in relationship with human beings, with creatures, with the plant world, with the planet itself. So let's hold that as an idea. Take that into your practice as you're continuing to do this, and we'll take that further. What was I going to say? Anything? I don't know if there's any announcements. Not sure. Well, see you next week. Continue to tell people about this. If you're not on our mailing list, that's it. If you're not on our mailing list, please get in touch. We're sending every week, we're sending out a newsletter now with these recordings and stuff. So if you're not on our mailing list, please let us know. Get in touch with us, and so we can, or go to the website. At this moment, it's the Respectful Confrontation website, and get yourself on the mailing list. Let's dedicate these energies. Let's dedicate them to ourselves in a big way. That idea of full acceptance, a deeper level of care for ourselves, knowing that all that we're doing is already enough. And the same for all beings who are working far too hard, compassion, fatigue, burnout, that all that they are doing, that they wake up one morning and say, it's enough, I'm doing enough. I'll keep doing what I'm doing, but I can't do any more than I can do now. And that's enough. And may all beings on this planet have enough fresh water to drink and food to eat. And may all governments and world leaders govern from a place of wisdom and compassion as opposed to fear and greed. Okay, thank you. Be well, have a good week, and see you next week.
Thank you.